A Raptors insider just revealed some very interesting details regarding a Daniel Gafford trade to Toronto, discussing the Raptors' previous interest in the Dallas Mavericks center, how a deal could be structured, as well as what is really going on in Dallas. So we'll discuss that, including some updates regarding some Toronto Raptors players we have right now on the injury front that makes a Daniel Gafford trade that much more dire, a theme that we've seen over the course of this entire season. So lots of stuff to really sink our teeth into in this video. But folks, again, we are so close to that milestone for the channel of 40,000 subscribers. So if you haven't hit the subscribe button just yet and you are enjoying the daily Toronto Raptors content, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Also, we'll be going live for the Raptors-Cavs game tonight. Big one for the Toronto Raptors, so make sure to stay tuned for that. But let's dive into the news, because it's no secret that the Raptors are a squad right now in the Eastern Conference that have been performing fairly solid. Again, the Eastern Conference is completely wide open. They dealt with some injuries to start off the season, particularly in areas where it is not ideal, and still they're 6-5 and just 1.5 games out of second place. So the Raptors are very much well positioned to go on a run and actually make some noise out there in the Eastern Conference. But as we brought up multiple times, the center position, there's a lack of depth on that front, leading to a lot of eyes pointing to Daniel Gafford after the Dallas Mavericks fired Nico Harrison and them being a bottom dweller out there in the Western Conference this season. Could they try to retool around Cooper Flag? Well, now we have some insights in that situation and how the Raptors are linked. So Michael Grange came out and said that, league source said that, wow, things change quickly in this league. It was just 2 years ago that the Mavericks were in the NBA Finals. And what's next? That was what everyone was wondering. There is an expectation now that new management in place for the Dallas Mavericks could move some pieces to recalibrate their roster around first overall pick Cooper Flag. So that's the first update that we have there. So Grange, speaking to some insiders across the NBA, revealing that the Dallas Mavericks, with new leadership and stuff, going to try to put their thumbprint on the roster and retool and adjust around Cooper Flag. Of course, what does that mean? Well, guys like Daniel Gafford, who are win-now players, guys you want in your system if you're trying to compete, they are the types of players that are usually sent out in these types of packages. So that's one thing that people are looking at. And how does this associate with the Toronto Raptors? Well, Grange went on to say that the thing is, Nico was building a team that's looking to win now, and it's not easy to unravel, said one NBA source. Anthony Davis is a major domino, but there could be some interesting secondary pieces to be on the move. Athletic big man Daniel Gafford being one of them. The Raptors have had interest in him in the past, so it makes sense to expect that they will be making the calls, but this will drag out for a while. The trade deadline is on February 5th. So Grange dropping a very interesting nugget out there on that front, discussing how the Raptors have had a ton of interest in Daniel Gafford out there in the past, and of course, we brought up, you can put the puzzle pieces together, the Raptors have a lack of depth at the center position, which the injuries that we're sustaining right now with Jakob back in the lineup, but other players are making this all the more needy that the Raptors solve this issue. Everyone, all fans, have started to point to Daniel Gafford as a solution to fix this problem, a guy that's going to be on the trade block, that fits exactly what you need and shouldn't be that overpriced, is exactly what the doctor ordered for the Toronto Raptors roster to be well-positioned moving forward. And now we have Raptors insiders talking to Dallas Mavericks folks, seeing what's going on in the front office, and suggesting that this trade is all the more likely. So Raptors fans that are I know people weren't that interested in Anthony Davis, which makes a ton of sense, given the risks that are associated with this. This is a low-risk, high-reward move for the Toronto Raptors. So if you're not familiar with Daniel Gafford, who he is as a basketball player, he's 6'10". He's only 27 years old as well. So really fits the age and timeline of a lot of our younger guys. Scottie Barnes, a couple years older than Scottie, RJ, and Immanuel Quickley, and these types of folks. But a player that is 6'10" and really just an effective rim protector. Last season for the Dallas Mavericks, of course, he's dealing with some injuries this year, but last season averaged 12 and 6 out there in 21 minutes per night, coming off the bench. It started some games for the Dallas Mavericks, but came off the bench with Derek Lively in some of them. So he can start, he can come off the bench, he can be a versatile big man that protects the rim, can move out there on the court. He's not a floor spacing big man. He hasn't hit a three-point shot in his entire career, so don't expect that out of Daniel Gafford, but expect a guy that can protect the paint. And when the Raptors are playing a little bit aggressive out there on the defensive end, Daniel Gafford's going to be someone that can really effectively protect the net, be that anchor, be that rim protecting presence, and frankly, it would be a really nice compliment to Jakob, who is a really good positional defender, and we see how important he's been to this squad over the past few seasons where we've had such a lack of center depth for such a long time. Adding a Daniel Gafford as more of a bouncy, athletic lob threat to Jakob Poeltl's kind of smooth, finesse, high IQ defensive style, that gives the Raptors two different options, two different looks to handle all of the different big men that they're going to face in the Eastern Conference across the NBA. And that is what the Toronto Raptors need, because we have a lot of guys out here on this team right now that are effective on-ball defenders. Scottie Barnes has been great. Jamal Shed can pick people up, out there and, making crazy sort of switches and stuff. Colin Murray-Boyles can be that wing protector, wing defender that we've seen guys like OG Anunoby be for the Toronto Raptors in the past if he's not having to play the center position. There are a lot of really strong defenders on this Raptors group, and if you give them a rim protector out there consistently, because Jakob Poeltl's dealt with some injuries, they will be able to be unlocked even further. So it's very important. I'm a broken record talking about how injuries have, are serious risk out there in the front court. We can deal with injuries in our backcourt on our wings because we're so loaded at those positions, but we need some more depth out there in the front court. And the recent injury updates only shine more light on the situation, as Josh Lewenberg revealed that Colin Murray-Boyles has been added to the Raptors injury report with an illness. He's questionable for tomorrow, obviously tonight's game in Cleveland, while Mamu and Ochai Agbaji are also questionable. Mobo is also on G League assignments. So right now, again, Colin Murray-Boyles' injury or status or out won't take him more than a couple of games, assuming there's, not a serious illness or anything like that. Wishing a speedy recovery there for Colin Murray-Boyles. He still might be able to play through it, but assuming we have no Colin Murray-Boyles, assuming we have no Mamu Kelashvili in tonight's game, and again, they're questionable, so they might end up playing, but you are and Mobo's down with the G League, you have no one to play the center spot. Heck, you can't even slide up Agbaji. The Raptors would probably have to play Scottie Barnes as the backup center, even though he's going to be starting out there on the wings. Jamison Battle being pushed up a few spots. I don't know who the heck you're going to move and try to guard the big men out there down at Cleveland with, Mobley, Jared Allen. It is just really, really tough position for the Toronto Raptors to be in when you're going to deal with, especially from your big men, ticky-tack injuries over the course of a season. Hopefully, knock on wood, those are the only things that we end up getting. But in games like this, you are just throwing away wins if you don't have someone that can be competent enough to play the center position when other guys are out. So again, we're hopeful that one of Murray-Boyles or Mamu Kelashvili can be there, but those guys are more naturally forwards anyways. But this type of injury situation, a day like today, shines just as much light as to why we should really, I'm not saying go all in on Daniel Gafford, but really be all in on trying to fortify that front court. Even if it's a patch solution right now with, Bol, with, Olivier Sarr out there in the G League. If we figure out something just to get some size, some warm body that's over 6'10", 6'11", out there on the court, then that will be beneficial for the Toronto Raptors going forward. And I want to repeat this in saying this. This is not me criticizing Mamu Kelashvili or Colin Murray-Boyles. Yes, Mamu's 6'11", so it's like, oh, Ben, he's a legit backup center, and he's playing great. He's shooting 43% from the three-point line, 9 points per game, 3.4 rebounds, 1.9 assists, but he's more of a power forward. I think he's been trying and being aggressive on the defensive end, but he's not going to be someone that you're going to rely upon to be a rim protector for your squad, and Colin Murray-Boyles has more so been filling that backup center position over the course of the season, and he's been awesome as well. 8.8 points per game, 3.9 rebounds and stuff, shooting 50% from the three-point line, which is absolutely crazy to say, but he's 6'7", right? He's the height of our wings. So even though he's sturdy, he's strong, he can do all this type of stuff, he's not someone you want day in, day out, having to guard the Joel Embiids of the world, the Domantas Sabonis of the world, the Victor Wembanyama's, right? He is the guy that you want to be an insurance if you need a switch or something like that, but really hound out there on your wings and be that sturdy presence out there where it's really tough for people to drive in on them. So let me know what you guys think about all this in the comment section down below. You guys are listening as far as subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Anyways, I'm signing out. Cheers.